So, you're not sure what to bet? Don't worry, I gotcha. Welcome, football fans, gridiron gamblers, and all of my degenerates. It's Mitch here with my last minute divisional round best bets. This is the show where I break down the totals, the teasers, win margins, player props, and beyond. So if you're ready to make some money betting NFL Divisional Round, then don't be a jabroni. Spike the like button and subscribe to the channel for weekly NFL picks and best bets just like this. This is the breakdown of the alternative paths, the alternative bets to make you some money this week. Let's go. Now that you've spiked the like button, do it, jabroni. Get in the comments. Let me know your favorite bet of the week. Let's kick it off. We're going to go in order of each game, and I'm going to list the bets. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't have a ton of props in this video. I don't have a ton of player props. I feel like a lot of them are very accurate. I have a couple, but nothing too crazy. I think mostly because a lot of the player props, I feel like these games are more defensive. And I just want to say that right out in front, where some of you guys might be looking for player props. If I do have any, I'll certainly post them on my Patreon. So if you are a patron, make sure to sign up. $5 a month for all of my bets every week of the NFL playoffs. Only $5. And you get to support your boy as well with $5 on Patreon. But yeah, I don't have a ton of player props this week because I think a lot of games are going to be a lot of unders. And I don't want to give you guys unders all the time. Okay? I just don't. It's not fun, bro. It's not fun. We're trying to win money, but we're also kind of trying to have some fun too. So let's kick it off with something a little bit different. Before we get to Bills Broncos, I want to start off with a teaser that I do really like this week. And it's a little bit of an alternative look at a teaser because I don't usually include totals in teasers, but I think this is a strong week to include totals in teasers because I do like some unders this week, specifically 2 unders this week. 3 out of the 4, I would lean towards the under in the games, but 2 of them I think are strong plays. First, San Francisco, Seattle, and second, New England, Houston. Now, with a 6-point teaser, you can tease San Francisco and Seattle from 45 to 51. And in the Patriots game, you can tease it from 40.5 to 46.5. Now, I would preferably like to get a 47 here, if possible, but I would still accept a 46.5. Personally, I do not see how the Patriots-Texans game goes above 45. I think 45 is the key number in this game in terms of I cannot imagine this game going beyond or over 45. I think 24-21 is pretty much the max, right? If it were to be like a 44, I think it could be 27-17, something like that. But even that feels like a lot. I think either team getting to 27, I feel like that would be a lot of points for either of these teams. I don't think either of these teams is going beyond 24 at the max. So could it be a 24-23? That might be a possibility, but I think it's rather low. I think 45 is the key number, so I'm not going to push to a 6.5-point teaser there. But ultimately, I think when we look at the New England Patriots, we look at the Houston Texans and why I would tease it to 46.5. I think, first of all, the key number. But then next, no Nico Collins. So I think on that side of the football, the Patriots have overwhelming perimeter matchups that are going to allow them to focus on other areas of attack defensively. So with their ability to play more man coverage without Nico Collins, it's going to allow them to suffocate these receivers and force CJ Stroud to hold the ball. That's going to be effective in a plethora of ways. CJ Stroud's really weak against pressure. He's one of the worst quarterbacks against pressure. He's third worst in adjusted completion percentage against pressure. He's also one of the worst quarterbacks, if not the worst quarterback, against zero blitzes. So the fact that Nico Collins is not playing allows the Patriots with Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones, and Carlton Davis to play more man press coverage, make CJ hold the ball, get after him in a variety of ways on passing downs, and I think that's going to be very effective. Second, I think New England is going to stop the run, especially because Nico is not playing. It allows you to be more aggressive in run fits with your linebackers and your safeties because the Texans don't have that vertical dimension without Nico, in my opinion, especially against Christian Gonzalez and these corners. So that side of the ball, I think, is taken care of. I'd be surprised if the Texans scored more than 20 points. On the other side of the football, it's the Texans' defense. They're absolutely awesome. We've seen New England give up a lot of sacks. We saw it against the Chargers. We've seen it against Atlanta, Cleveland. We've seen it against Pittsburgh. They've given up a lot of sacks in some of these games. The left side of the line is a little weak. New England doesn't have overwhelming talent at weaponry, and I do think that the Texans can stifle them just in terms of, I think there will be inconsistency from the Patriot offense. I do think that they're more likely to win this game. I do like the Patriots to win this game. I do think Josh McDaniels and Drake May combined can find more ways to offense than CJ Stroud, but I do think that the Texans are going to be able to stop the Patriots from just running them over. I feel like they're going to get pressure with 4 occasionally because of the weaknesses on the left side of the Patriots line. I think the Texans can play man coverage against the Patriots and have some success. And the Texans are just a fast, dominant, awesome defense. Sure, Drake May might be able to create some explosives. He might be able to slip a screen out there every once in a while or run himself and break contain. And Drake will make some plays. But I don't think he's going to put up like 27, 28, 30 points. He might put up 24, something like that. But I can't see it going beyond that. And it's also, it could be cold. It could have elements of snow involved. That will only keep the total lower. So that's why I like the under 46.5. Then the Niners and the Seahawks. The total is 45. Tease it up to 51. I'm going to put it simple here. The 2 games they've played, week 1, a 30-point total. Week 18, it was a total of 16 points. The Seahawks have arguably the best defense in the NFL. I would make a statement that they're the best defense in the NFC. They're a better version of what the 49ers saw in Philadelphia last week. They are very good in their coverage. I think the main reason they're so successful against the Niners is they don't have to change their personnel. They can come out, they can play nickel, and it's like they're playing a 4-3 base defense with Nick Emenwari and Witherspoon out there being basically hybrid corner, safety, linebacker, edge players. I mean, it's like they're both positions or 3 positions in one. So it allows them to play the hybrid nature of the Niners in a very interesting and unique way that a lot of other defenses can't. They can't match up with the Niners with that type of way. Also, I think the Niners have shown an ability to suffocate Sam Darnold. Darnold has not played very well against the Niners in 2 games this year. I didn't think he played great in the second game. He didn't throw for over 200 yards. They've limited the big plays from JSN. They've forced Seattle to run the ball, and I do think they've improved their linebacker personnel since Week 18, adding Eric Kendricks in there. I also think that Robert Saleh is going to be more equipped to stopping this run game thanks to the film that he'll see from Week 18. So I think the Niners and Seahawks, it's going to be played in the teens, maybe the low 20s, but I don't see either team getting 30. I don't see either team getting high 20s either. I think both these teams have shown they're very familiar. This is going to be more of a ball possession defensive game where both teams probably struggle in the red zone. So I like the under 51. And then the Bills, plus 7.5. So take the Bills from 1.5, tease them 6 to 7.5. If you can only get a Bills plus 1, I'd still tease them up to 7. Although 7 can be tricky because the game could land on 7. So I'd prefer a 7.5. But either way, I think that the Bills are going to make this game close. Rather, they win or lose. I actually think they're going to win this game. We'll get into that as well. But I think that this game is going to be played into the lower 20s. Maybe the mid 20s. I think at max it could be like a 28-24, 27-24, 27-23 type game. But I see this as a 1-score game either way kind of thing. And I think that Denver's defense a little overrated. I do think the Bills can attack them on the ground. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. Last year when they played in the wild card round, the Bills did win 31-7. Bo Nix struggled mightily. I think that the combination of The Bills rushing for over 200 yards in that game. James Cook being the leading rusher in the NFL this year. That is the Bills' formula to success in winning this game, is running the football, establishing a ground game, keeping the possession. And then on the defensive side, they're very good in zone coverage. They play a lot of too-high structure. They're the second defense in EPA in too-high defense. Bo Nix is one of the worst quarterbacks. He's actually the lowest yards per attempt against too-high structures in the NFL. So I think it's a combination of Sean McDermott's going to have success against Bo Nix. I think it's a combination of the Bills will be able to bully the Broncos front a little bit more than people are expecting, which is going to lead to success in the pass game. So I think that the teaser of the week is San Francisco, Seattle, total, tease it up to 51. New England, Houston, tease it up to 46.5. Buffalo, 7.5. So that's my 6-point teaser this week. I will be betting it. I have bet it already, and I recommend you do too. Okay, now let's transition to James Cook, who I just brought up, and I kind of already made the argument. So James Cook has rushed for 100-plus yards 9 times this season. He led the NFL in rushing yards. You can get James Cook to rush for 100-plus yards at plus 250, and this is on Bet365 specifically, but plus 250 is the price. So that is, I think, a really good number for a guy that rushed for over 100 yards against his defense last year, had 5.2 yards per carry against his defense last year. And as I brought up in my previous video talking about why I think the Bills can win, the Broncos have not done well against good rushing offenses. If you actually look at how they fared in those games, right? They played the Colts, one of the best rushing offenses. They lost that game. They played the Giants. They lost that game. They played Washington. They almost lost that game. There's been a little bit of a rhythm and a pattern that when the Broncos play a good rushing offense, they struggle, okay? The teams that they did beat, Cincinnati, who didn't have Joe Burrow, Dallas, who had half their defense hurt, those are the 2 games that they were able to win against top 12 EPA rushing offenses. Buffalo is second in success rate, second in rush EPA. I do think Denver has faced a very weak rushing schedule in terms of rushing offenses faced. They've played their own division 6 times, which are all awful at running the football. So there's that. But that's why I also like the Bills to win by 1 to 6 points on a win margin bet. You can get that at plus 330. There's going to be somewhere around plus 300 as well. I think that the Bills are more likely to win this game because in the end, I just trust Josh Allen versus Bo Nix. And I do really trust this McDermott defense to clamp down on the passing game of the Broncos. I also just think that the Bills are better at running the ball than the Broncos are. And despite the Bills', lack of ability to stop the run, I think that last year they showed they could stop the Broncos running game. This year the Broncos have been better running the ball, but they're not great. They're fairly mid at running the football overall. So I don't think they're just going to manhandle the Bills, especially with Ed Oliver back. So I'd take the Bills by 1 to 6 plus 300. You can also get the Broncos by 1 to 6 if you want to play it either way type deal at plus 320. That's also a deal. That's also something you could do. I do that quite often between 2 teams that I think are going to play a very close game. I also like the Broncos under team total 23.5. That's minus 115. Like I said, I think Bo Nix is going to struggle to find explosives against this defense that likes to make you pick them apart underneath. I do think the Bills are going to make and create some negative plays, both in the screen game when the Broncos look to flare the ball out wide because they're very good at tackling. And I also think the Broncos are going to get some negative plays when they run the ball. I think they'll have some success with explosives, but I think it will be kind of like inconsistent in the ground game department for Denver. That's kind of the way their ground game's been kind of all season. I see Denver scoring around 20 points. I don't think they're going to quite get to 24, 27 range. I think McDermott, he showed what he could do against Jacksonville. I thought Trevor Lawrence's head was spinning. I think that's only going to be times 2 against Bo Nix, who I don't think is playing nearly as well as Trevor Lawrence was. So, yeah, I think this Bills defense is honestly underrated entering this round, and they're kind of talked about as one of the lesser units in this round, and I actually think they're playing really well. And that's why I also think that you could place a bet for neither team to score 25 plus points at plus 180. This is, again, good plus money for a game that I think is more likely to be 24-21 than it is to be 28-24. Now, I could be wrong, but I do lean under 46 in this game, so neither team to score 25 would only make sense in my opinion, because I do think it's going to be a close game decided by 3 or 4 points. So those are the bets for Denver and Buffalo. Look at it to be a lower 20s type game, running the football based. I love James Cook here. I think the Bills defense is underrated against this Broncos offense, and I think the Bills ultimately win a close one-score game. Now let's transition to the Saturday night game. We've got San Francisco, Seattle. Let's also begin with the fact that I do like the under in this game. But I think that neither team is likely to score a lot of points. I don't think the one team that everyone thinks might is Seattle. And Seattle has scored 13 points against San Francisco in 2 games this season. Both games, they literally hit 13 points. Not more, not less. Now, could they have scored more in the second game? Certainly, right? They could have. They missed 2 field goals. But that would have been 19 points. So I like neither team to score 25 plus in this game as well at plus 165. San Francisco, meanwhile, scored 3 last time they played and 17 in the first game, although they could have scored about 23 in the first game. That being said, though, neither team is going to score 25 points. They're both way too familiar. Both have great defensive minds on their side. Seattle is kind of a shaky offensive team. They're right now ranking around the 19th to 20th best offense in EPA in the NFL since about week 10. They've struggled to come out of the first half electric. They've struggled to really score a lot of points in the red zone. And like I said, I think there will be adjustments made to more blitzing, more man coverage for San Francisco on certain downs. I don't think San Francisco will replicate the worst tackling game of their season that they did in week 18, where they were awful tackling on screens and in open space. And then also, I think San Francisco will be better equipped to slow down the run game in this game just because of tape, just because of film, just because of study. And I just think that when a team manhandles another team this close in proximity, it's likely to reverse in a lot of ways. I don't mean San Francisco is going to come out and bully the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't think Seattle is just going to straight up mosh or mash the San Francisco 49ers like they did in week 18 on either side of the line of scrimmage, partly because Trent Williams returns for the 49ers offensive line, which is really going to help them. And this is another reason why I think this is live for the Niners for an upset. So I'm looking at long shot bets on the 49ers in this game. I think the 49ers can win this game. Because I think the game is going to be 20-17, 17-14, 17-16, 17-13, 21-17, somewhere in that range, 23-20. That's like probably like the peak score would be 24-21. Like, I can't really imagine it being higher scoring than that unless there's a big turnover or something. I kind of feel like the Niners are very live because Ricky Pearsall is likely to play in this game. That's going to give them a threat vertically that Seattle didn't have to defend in week 18. They're also going to have Trent Williams, which is going to allow Brock Purdy more time to throw the football. I think that's going to allow McCaffrey more space to run the ball out wide to the left side at least. I think that people are kind of underrating Jake Tonjes. I think they're underrating what we saw from Demarcus Robinson last week. Perhaps that was unlocked. And I think people are underrating how good the Eagles' defense is. Because I know that Seattle's defense is awesome, but the Niners just had a great performance against a really good Eagles defense. And I think they could carry that momentum through against this defense. Not to the same degree, but I think relatively close. Also, Brock Purdy's undefeated in Seattle. Kyle Shanahan has never lost in the divisional round. He's 4-0. There are some trends that allow you to believe the Niners could pull this off. And Sam Darnold kind of injured entering this game. He's not exactly the best big game player in the world. He could turn the ball over a couple times. So I'll also throw out Seahawks under team total 24.5. As I said, it's hard for me to imagine this game going above 24 for either team. So plus 118, Seattle under 24.5. I like that as well. I just don't believe the Seahawks have a lot of great weapons in the pass game. And I think in order to score in the playoffs, you need a really good passing game. I don't think you're just going to be able to run the ball against these teams in the playoffs. And also when you look at it, teams that can play a little bit more man, you can get away with it because there's going to be less holding calls, less flags for interference, stuff like that. It's just the way that football is in the playoffs. Seattle, 24.5, that's too many points. Plus 118, I would take the under there. I think the Niners actually, outside of JSN, hold a pretty substantial advantage with their secondary against Seattle's receiving core. I don't really respect a lot of these receivers. Rashid Shaheed hasn't really been involved. Cooper Kupp is very slow Arroyo is out at tight end. It's really only Barner. They don't really have a lot of great receivers here. So I think San Francisco can at least hold up in coverage, which can afford them to stack the box against the run. And then I did bring up Ricky Pearsall's name. I like his over at 31.5 receiving yards. In week 1 when they played, he put up 108 yards in that game on 4 receptions. He was their explosive downfield option. Without George Kittle, they're going to need that. So I think Ricky Pearsall probably finds a way to at least have 50 yards in this game if he's active, which I believe he will be. So I take the over with Ricky Pearsall. So to repeat, I believe that it will be a lower scoring game, as the first 2 games have played out that way, in a defensive struggle and a field position type of game. I think that both teams will struggle to win in the red zone because I don't think the Niners will be able to run the football, and I think that Seattle Sam Darnold will not be able to win. I also think that this game will be closer than people expect because I don't expect Seattle to have a lot of passing success. I also think that the Niners will be better against the run and just generally better tackling. Then on the other side, I think San Francisco will be able to move the ball a bit better and have more possession, and it will be more even because Ricky Pearsall and Trent Williams will be suiting up, and they didn't play in that game in Week 18. These two teams are very familiar from a coaching perspective. They know each other's schemes. They know each other's players. They know each other's tendencies. Brock Purdy's the better quarterback. Ultimately, Kyle Shanahan has been, honestly, a ridiculous playoff coach in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. Probably the best there is in the NFL right now. He is like 7-0 in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, which is insane. He already has the same amount of playoff wins as Vince Lombardi and John Madden, which is actually crazy. He just doesn't have a Super Bowl. And Mike McDonald, this is his first game as a head coach in the playoffs. So, just going to throw that out there. All right, next we got the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots. The first game on Sunday. I think the Patriots win this game, and I think it's largely on the back of their defense. I don't believe in Houston's offense. I don't believe in their offensive line, even if it's improved. I don't believe that they can run the ball on the Patriots. I don't believe in their weaponry outside of Nico Collins. And I don't think that CJ Stroud's as good as people think. I think the discrepancy and the difference between the quarterbacks here is humongous. I think the difference in how they play against pressure is ginormous. And I think the Patriots having a cold weather advantage, a home field advantage, is also humongous. I think if the Texans play anything like they did against the Steelers offensively, they're going to lose. And I think it's very likely because New England has a better defense than Pittsburgh. New England by 1-13 is probably my best bet in this game. If you can find that bet, it's not active everywhere. I found this on Sports Interaction. I'm Canadian. That's one of the places you can bet this. I think it's like plus 140 if you can find it. But New England by 1-13, just because I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Houston's defense, I have too much respect for New England to win by margin of that significant, like 14 to 17 points. And I think New England is pretty likely to win. So I do really like that bet rather than laying 3. Because this game could land on 3. This game could land on 2. This game could be 17-16. So ultimately, I don't love laying the spread with the Patriots. If I were to play the Patriots, I would look at some sort of same game parlay with a money line and like an under and trying to like create some sort of parlay there. But I also, if you can find Patriots by 1-13, I think it's worth a bet. I don't love the Patriots by 1-6 as much, but I feel like it's worth the shout if you think this is really going to be a defensive game like the Chargers game. I mean, if there's not going to be a lot of points, the likeliness New England wins by only 3 or 4 or 6 is fairly likely. So I think that's a good look. Like it could easily be 17-13 and New England might cover, but they might, if you get a Patriots by 1-6, you might be able to get like plus 290 odds, which is much better than laying minus 110. So throwing it out there, it also saves you from the Patriots winning by 1 to 2 points instead of laying 3. So if you could find that one as well, I think New England is going to win this game. It's just, I could see them winning by 10 just because I feel like I could see them winning by 7. I could see them winning by 10. I think it's possible because I think their defense is going to dominate this game. I'm going to just make that straight up. I think their secondary is going to dominate. I think their run defense is going to dominate. I think their interior pass rush is going to dominate. I think it's going to look a lot like the Chargers game. I think the Texans have a bit better offensive line, but they have a worse quarterback. I think they have worse weapons. I think they have probably a pretty similar run game and probably a pretty similar play caller. I think that it's going to be similar. I think it's going to be a similar game to the Charger game. I really do. I don't think it's going to be as low scoring just because it's very hard for that to happen, but I think that New England is going to be very well equipped to stop the Texans in this game. Also, I like the Texans team total under for those reasons. Under 17.5 at plus 100. So I could see New England winning 21-17. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Under 17.5. The Patriots, a half final double result bet is also interesting. If you can't find New England by 1-13, I think this is the next best bet where they're plus 140 on their half final bet of a double result bet. This is pretty much available in most places. New England, the reason I say this, they're excellent in the first half. They're the number one team in points in the first half. They have led at halftime in 14 of their last 15 games. Baltimore was the only game that they didn't lead, and it's only because they missed a field goal at the end of the half. So it was 10-10 going into halftime, but it should have been 13-10 because it actually should have been 16-10 because Drake May threw a pick inside the 10-yard line, and then they actually missed a field goal. So it would have been 15 for 15 if Borregales just made like a 50-yard field goal, which he usually does make. And then Houston, they're 22nd in first half points on the road this year. So number one team scoring points in the first half versus the number 22 team. And I think plus 140, pretty good bet for New England to lead at half and then win the game. And then if you're looking for a touchdown bet, I think Ramondre Stevenson plus 155 is always a good look. I love how he's playing. I think he's their lead ball carrier and back in this game. I think he'll also be effective as a receiver as well. Now, the final game, Chicago, Los Angeles. I also like a double result here for the Los Angeles Rams. This is more even money, minus 102 is where I found it. First of all, the Bears suck in the first half. Like, everybody knows that, but this is a way of betting that for sure. Like, the Bears have trailed at half in 5 of their 6 games, 5 of their last 6. The only game that they have led is against Cleveland. That's it. Cleveland. I think it was 31-3 final. The other games against the Packers multiple times, the Niners, the Detroit Lions, any team with half a pulse, they have trailed at halftime. And they've also trailed 7 out of 9 games. So 5 out of 6, 7 out of 9. I have no idea how they're here in the divisional round having done that, but they have. So yeah, Chicago. And then how you could play this too is you could put a bet on the Rams to win the double result half final. And then maybe you could get like +7 at halftime on the Bears or something like that if you wanted to kind of play it both ways. Because there's a likely chance that the Rams are up like 20-10 at halftime. Like it very well could happen. And that being said, I think both teams will score in this game. I do like the over, but just like last week where we hit on the Packers and the Bears to score 20 plus or more points, I like this bet in this game as well. Bears, Rams, both teams to score 20 or more at minus 120. This is a really good bet in my opinion because I think this game is very likely to be played in the 20s. I think both these defenses are not good. The Bears are 31st in pass rush win rate. The Bears are 29th in yards per attempt allowed on the ground. They're like 28th or 30th in yards per attempt through the air. They're just a terrible defense. They don't have a pass rush to get to Stafford. Dotson's back for the Rams. They don't have anyone to cover Puka. TJ Edwards is out. That makes their run defense horrific. And then on the other side, the Rams secondary is Swiss cheese. They're slow. I think Colson Loveland's going to eat. The Bears also can run the football with Ben Johnson. They're excellent in the second half of games, pushing the ball and hitting explosive plays. Caleb can run. They're just a really good offense. And then Blake Corum is another bet I like, 50-plus rushing yards at minus 110. We bet this last week. I think we might have just missed. We might have been on it, actually. I know he went over his prop. I bet both. I bet for him to go 50-plus, and I also bet for him to go like over 43, and I'm pretty certain he went over 43. Let me see if he went over, but the thing I like about this bet is I still feel like it's inaccurately priced. So he had 45, so he didn't go over 50, but he went over his prop last week. And he only averaged 4.1 yards per carry. This week, he's going to have a better day running the ball against Chicago, who is really bad against the run, but 11 for 45. Corum has seen a lot of carries lately, and he's basically been splitting series to series, drive to drive with Kyren Williams. And I just feel like Corum is incorrectly priced. Like, that's just kind of my sense where since the first Carolina game, he's gone for 81, 128, 71, 48, 59, and 45. The only game he went under 40 yards was against Atlanta. And he's hit 50 plus yards in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 11 games. So that's pretty good, in my opinion. That's pretty good odds. So yeah, minus 110. Corum is more likely than not to rush for 50 yards. Because Dotson is back, he loves to run to the right. That's also a thing. So those are my last minute best bets, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, Gronk spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. It's Mitch of The Bottom Line View. And of course, it's Money Mitch. Thanks for watching. We'll see ya. I'll be streaming all the games on the BLV. So make sure to check that out, guys. Saturday and Sunday. Join me. Let me know what you bet. Let me know if you bet any of these. Thanks for watching. Good luck. Peace.